Hey everyone, welcome to your daily update for SOL and BTC. So weekend price action's been pretty flat and liquidity's sort of been building top and bottom. Things like SOL have just been bouncing up and down in like a $2 range, and um, most of the scalps on the whole candles have all been playing out. So anything that's sort of like 4 hour or lower. So still money to be made, just requires patience as it slowly goes through the process. And they definitely seem to be trying to keep it sideways. So looking at the liquidity, BTC is pretty much just evened out top bottom. So you've just got an equal amount of people who are believing it's going to dump as to the amount of people that believe it's going to pump. I think there's definitely a play up to about 16,800, so 116,800, and it might go higher. There's still all those rejection areas in the 117s that could then reject it back down again. It's looking particularly weak structurally, and although today's a prime day and there's only a 1 day close today, there are a ton of closes coming tomorrow, and if we do not pump up and close at a higher level today, or sorry, I should say tomorrow. If we don't close at a higher level tomorrow, a lot of those closes could create pretty decent rejections. So as it currently stands, I'm sort of still eyeing up that 112,800 area to the downside, and still looking to TP if we start traveling up past 1680, 116,800 to the top side. For SOL, still looking at TPing probably into the daily levels, so around that 244 if we keep traveling up, and picking up the lower levels. There's some range trends, like a 12-hour range trend. There's a bunch of stuff that's sort of around that 232 area. So if they took a dive down into those trends, anywhere from 232 down to sort of 220, then there's reasons to bounce back up from there. So if we look at the 7 days, 7 days starting to even out as well now. So kind of it's in exactly the right spot to do a dump and pump, or pump and dump, whichever way they go first. It's really just so that they can build the position to go the other way. But yeah, it's looking like it's got both sides ready to go, and areas like 222, 223, right up to sort of that 250 cluster, 258 starting to come in. And then for BTC, still not really a lot past 120, and but starting to look relatively worthwhile to take that 112 area. And it's not till we get to the 30-day. When you get to the 30-day, it still shows people with confident longs. They may not all get taken, but the longer these people stay confident in these longs, and the more liquidity builds up to the downside, the more likely it is to go down and take it. Looking at this, what's very evident is that the top side is not growing so much. Like the areas are basically just staying the same. So yeah, it's sort of, to me, it just looks like there's some kind of sweep to the downside brewing. And I guess once they start to get a bit more liquidity in these areas, it might be worth doing it. But I think it's all going to come about in the next day or two if they need to use some of that rejection structure. So let's have a look at what they've been doing more short term. So as you can see, just short term, it's just getting dense. So all that 100x leverage to the top side, the bottom side, it's all within sort of $1,000 either way on BTC. So anything up to 16,800, 17, 117, tons just to grab in there. And downside, there is still a good, there's still actually a lot of support at the 114 area, but just there's a large part of me that says too many people expect that to be support now, and because there is structure pointing lower than that, it just makes me think they'll probably use all the people that are willing to open positions at 114. If they want to push down, then they're just going to go, okay, people will long that will introduce very quickly liquidity below it, and then down we go deeper. So don't know if I trust that level this time. And SOL as well. You know, we've got that really dense area up there at 248, 249, and then liquidity forming all the way up into the 260s. And to the downside, it's, you know, getting really, really dense down there at about 230. And similar sort of thing. I think that if they drove down to 230, so many people would be willing to long there that suddenly it would all appear to the downside below that. So yeah, it just looks very much like it's brewing. Okay, let's have a look at these charts. So SOLBTC Strength. Oh, I might have I got too many tabs open? Or I've lost something somewhere. Sorry, technical difficulties. Have I got a 1 month chart? Well, I might have lost a chart or two. Let's just pause this for a sec. All right, I guess I've just figured out how many charts you can actually have open at any one time before it exceeds the top bar. So looking at SOLBTC Strength, we've still got the hold level up there at 21024, which we haven't hit on the daily. We're still sort of just bouncing off a hard close break level and kind of hovering around an origin level. And so really this is kind of an unresolved time frame at the moment. It either needs to push up into rejection and then have a bit of a pullback, or it needs to basically open up tomorrow's candle and then create some kind of interior downtrend. So it's not really doing much, but it could open exactly like this tomorrow, have a little move up and then reject off the new interior trend, or it could sweep through to the hold, which, you know, gives a little bit of a bullish pump and then reject down in the next day to come all the way down. It also hasn't hit the bottom hold level down here at 203.08, so really it's just hovering. But if it doesn't go up a little bit more by the end of the day, then it will introduce a little bit more resistance. So overall, you'd have to say closing like this is just that little bit bearish. Looking at the weekly close, again, which isn't until tomorrow, but we will cover off some of this stuff, is underneath the range trend. It's looking to reject. It's going to introduce a interior uptrend if it closes like this, which will be like that. And so it all just depends on exactly where it closes, because if it comes down just a little bit more, it'll open on the wrong side of the trend, be rejecting from the range trend, and then you're going to get a dump. If it pushes up a little bit more, it won't create the support trend, so you could still get a dump. And if it opens kind of exactly where it is now, like nothing changes, then it creates that support trend, and it's 50-50. It'll be in this tiny little breakout range where it can either push up to the upside or come down. Or the real bullish scenario is that we get this pump up above this level, and we get that before the weekly close, and then it bounces off the top side of that and just travels up, basically. Yeah, so pretty critical. The summary version of today's video is pretty much we need a pump this weekend. We need to close higher. So all the closes that happen on the weekly, they need to be higher than where they are now. So having a look at our safety assets on the daily, that's where alt season started, by the way. So that's just showing that off in the Discord earlier today. Some people are saying that alt season starts now, which is probably a little bit late to the party, but it started all the way up there, and then, you know, we're actually pretty much down where we run into our major supports now. So if anything, we're probably at an area where we could see a sizable pullback in alts, but it's, you know, that started up there. So looking at this daily, we've bounced off the interior support trend. Now, hopefully we do close at this level. So if we close around the 64% mark, we might then get another rejection off the downtrend, and that can push us back down and give you that little pump up in alts. and we just really need that little pump up, and then we need that to hold. Now the other side of it is that it comes back up here, anything over about 64.13, and it will open on the top side of that trend, in which case it can bounce up to that next sort of resistance level up around the 64.5s or 64.8s, and it's again just one of those closes that's quite on the fence. What it will do if it closes here, regardless of whether it tries to push down or up, is it might create this another arrayed interior. So short version is it's gathering strength back into BTC and stables. So you've gone from 1, 2, 3 arrays of the trend, and it's not having to bounce off this one that was created here. This candle is now looking to close above it. It's already hit the hold level. It's looking like stables and BTC are going to get stronger, and alts potentially are going to have a pullback, which makes a bit of sense. We've got all this weekly support down here. It's about time we had some kind of pullback. It's been pretty much, we've been in alt season since back here in June, so it's kind of expected that we might find some support at some point, have a little bit of a pullback, and then continue down. But if we do want to see alts just continue to pump, then really we need this to stay under this downtrend, and it's going to have a bit of a fight on its hands with these ones down here, and we might just end up stuck in this position until a higher time frame close comes about, but hopefully we don't get that. That'd be a bit boring. So let's have a look at our DXY totals. So we shifted that trend yesterday. We bounced off the trend. We hit the hold level. That's kind of where price has just been. It's just been stuck in that range. We are going to move our resistance trend to the top side. So that should come up there. So having this nice long wick on here means we should get a push up to that trend at about 367.34, and then we can get another rejection off that. So it is still sort of just showing that it's making changes to the ranges, which rhymes, and then it's kind of settling in the middle, which gives it the ability to sort of sweep both directions. So it's just been doing this for a few days now, which makes it a little bit tricky to figure out where it wants to go in the bigger scheme of things, but it makes it good if you just want to trade the low time frame and take scalps. So looking at it from the other direction, we haven't come up to test the top side yet. We haven't tested the hold level there at 3.78 yet. We're under the trend. We're not shifting the support trend. So, and if this was to open and then just push up to retest the trend and the hold level at about that 3.78, then it could reject from there and come back down towards this 3.65 area. It's it's done the trend retest from the previous broken downtrend, so you can probably get rid of that off the screen now. So you're really looking for this either to come up to 3.78 and reject, maybe push through to 3.83 to test the first touch of the relocated trend, or come all the way down to this 3.66 level. So we do have a hold level down there at 3.58. That would definitely be a good place to look for a reversal to the upside if we start to get a dump. But yeah, it's pretty much just hovering in the middle and not doing anything. So it needs to resolve one side or the other. Looking at the weekly, you can kind of see why that is, because as we get close to weekly close, this needs to make a choice. It either needs to be above the long standing resistance trend, which has kept the price or the whole market cap down for so long, or it's going to be below it. So one way or another, this thing either needs to be above or below that line. So and if we can get this pump in the next day and end up closing above these, then that's great. That's bullish. And then we can just break out and you can have that, alt season that everyone's calling for. However, it could just close like it is now. That would create no new support trend. It would open on the underside of the old historic resistance, and then we could just be in for another move down to test one of these lower trends again, which wouldn't necessarily be a huge move down, but it could definitely take the shine off things for a little while. So looking at the daily for BTC, same sort of thing. It hasn't actually come up and tested the resistance yet at, where are we? That's our level at 116395. It's on the underside of the current support trend, but it hasn't, well, unless it closes in distribution, it doesn't break it. So, it would actually almost be a little bit nicer if we closed under 115578, because then we could shift a trend and we'd actually have a range, or a new range, and then we could bounce off the trend and head back up to the hold. But as it stands, it just seems to want to do nothing and just sit in the middle. So from here, really we're looking for these 114 or lower levels, or we're looking for these 116 to 117 levels, maybe 117.5, 600 up there at the top. Really want it to just either go up and reject so that we can short the thing, or go down and bounce so that we can long it. But just being in the middle like this, all we're really going to do is introduce an interior trend, and if it closes at this price, at 115.700, sort of where it is now, it just opens on the other side of that trend. It doesn't break it until you get one more day, and it doesn't really mean anything. It could go down or it could go up. It would be somewhat bearish if it went down and stayed down. That's simply because you'd get another hold level in here at a lower price point for resistance. So yeah, that's pretty much what that's telling us on the daily. Now, just a real quick overview of a whole bunch of closes that we have coming tomorrow. 2-day is under resistance. We really need that to go up, because otherwise it's just rejecting off the trends that shifted. And 3-day, rejecting off the first touch of the relocated trend that shifted a couple of days ago. It's going to potentially break the interior trend. It's kind of gearing up for a move down. So 4-day, it got over the top of the trend, but it hasn't broken the trend. It's bounced off the back side of it. But again, if this thing doesn't go up and get rid of that wick to the top side, it's gearing for a move down. And it would probably end up retesting these range trends and things that are all down lower here. So this is sort of more like 114 to 112 territory. If it doesn't go up this weekend, it could even create a 4-day hold level, so resistance. And 6-day, 6-day is going to move the topside trend. So if this closes like this tomorrow as a yellow candle, then that'll push the resistance to the top side, and it'll have a hold level down here at around 111.647. So this is some bearish stuff. We need this pump. And so once you get to the 8-day, the 8-day would create an interior trend like that. But if it comes back even just a little bit more, it could open on the wrong side of that and push down. But it is the first time frame that could actually create a move up. So maybe sweep and up, which would conform with all the lower time frames going down first, then up. And then across to the 11-day. 11-day would shift the trend resistance to the top side if it closed like this. It's got an untested hold level here to reject into around that 112.800 area. So again, it looks like it wants to, basically it just looks like it wants to create a nice fake out to the upside and a dump. So we'll get both a range trend and an interior downtrend on the 12-day. So if it pushes up into these, there'll be a hold level there at 112.523, which it could push down to and dump. We need the 22-day to go up a little bit to create a hold level. If it doesn't, it creates a range trend. If it dumps off that, it will dump back. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. I won't go through all the others, but the short version is until you get to about the 24, 33 day, most things are showing signs that they want to do some kind of dump. And so we just need the price to go up over the next couple of days. Otherwise, we're going to have a hell of a lot of resistance shifting to the top side on BTC. So now looking at SOL, 1 day close today, same thing, floating in the middle. So it can create a interior downtrend, but it can also open on the other side of that downtrend, allowing it to push up into the resistance, which is around that 244, 700 area. So most of the lower time frame stuff is all pointing to that same area, and so therefore it's pretty likely we'll get a push up to there. But we also have a ton of topside resistance that's formed in the recent closes up around that 253 area. So, you know, whether we get anything past this 244 is really up for question, because there's just going to be trends, more trends, break levels. There's going to be heaps of stuff up there. So they could pull it back down in the next hour and 31 minutes. If they do that, then that creates a distribution range off the local break level. It'll change 249 into an origin level, and then the rejection of that area up there would just be, it'd just be really weird if it could get above that, because there'll be, you won't have this interior trend if they pull it back down. It will shift the local support trend, which means it should give a bounce, but it'll be bouncing into a brick wall. So it's yeah, it's looking a little bit suspicious, the amount of resistance up there. Whether we close up or whether we close down, it doesn't really give it a great option to get through that. So, but looking forward, SOL doesn't look as bearish as what BTC does. So if we look at the 2-day close coming up, yeah, we might be on the wrong side of the trend, but we can't create a downside hold level on that. It's not possible because you've got this, you've got a blue candle here, not a yellow candle here. So you know, the next one could, but it's still not looking, you know, as bearish. Going across to the 3-day, they'd have to really push it down. So they'd have to close below 234 tomorrow, and then that would be a little bearish. That would create a hold level to the downside. But yeah, these timeframes are actually still trying to push the price up. So they're looking a lot more bullish than what BTC is. The 4-day one, well, the 4-day time frame, if it closes under 242.248, will create a resistance hold level. So that could break the trend down and then head lower. And we've got all these areas like 228, 223, 210, 208. You know, there's tons of support down there. One of those things is going to bounce it. So. Okay, 6-day is pulling back from trend. Kind of expect that. It's just going really slow. If it closes below that trend, then you're probably going to expect it to come back to this range trend around that 227, 228 number. So 8-day. So 8-day, if it closes down like this, is going to create a new support trend, but as you can see, it could open on the wrong side of it. So really, you know, if this, it's kind of, once again, damned if it does, damned if it doesn't. If it pumps up, it shifts the bottom side trend to the top side. If there's a wick, it can reject off that and come all the way back down to 214, 215. But if it closes down, then it could create the support trend and be on the wrong side of it and reject down there anyway. It's just really stuck. Yeah, it's stuck. But it does look like it's lining up for some kind of rejection. We've got a really old range trend running through here on the 11-day, which we're rejecting off. We've come from the wrong side of all of the trends down the bottom here. So, you know, it is bullish if they can hold that up and keep that up for another 24 hours, because then we could find support in this 230 area and have a move up. But if they don't do that, if we have some kind of dump in the next 24 hours and we get back under these levels, then, you know, we're going down. So this this one here has got some pretty good old support that kind of sent the price flying up and broke the range trend down there in that 190s area, but I don't know if we'd get there. We'd have to have a pretty solid pullback to get there. Okay, 12 days rejecting from trend. It's pulling back down under key levels. Same sort of thing, really. It's if it closes here, there will be will there be? Yep, there'll be a shift. Actually, no, there won't. No. So I mean, if it closes here, it doesn't really do much other than the fact it could pull back to 220. So it's miles away from its support trend. And yeah. And then 22-day, it's pulled back underneath the break levels. Yeah, it would get really bearish if it got below that 215 area, but the confluence of that 215 area is such that it might just pull back to the support trend, which is around the 220 to 215 sort of pullback, and then go up again and have another go. And again, 24-day. 24-day is potentially going to move the resistance trend to the top side. So that's just more resistance appearing around that 253 area. And support for that is around the 220 area, down to sort of like the 206 area. So it's, yeah, we need this pump. We need this wick to go away. If that wick goes away, this thing can move up free, because it didn't really have a lot of resistance beforehand, but it's basically creating it by the way it's pulling back now. So same thing. I won't go through all the different timeframes because we'll cover them off tomorrow when we actually have a bit of a better idea about how things are going to close. But short version is, it's looking like it's getting set up for a fall. We need a big pump today. We need to close higher at tomorrow's close to basically stop a lot of this stuff from playing out. As for other little things that we're kind of keeping an eye on, yeah, so we're still hovering around in that monthly range. We'll long this if it comes back to these trends. If it doesn't, then we'll just wait for next month and then long the hold level and punch through that break level. And did that not? I did it again. I did not set the alert. I suppose it might not have quite touched that, but ENA looks like it came back to that that trend, had a bit of a bounce off it. I don't think that really did touch the trend though, so I might just add that alert. So just put that on there. I'll make some money out of that thing one day. Just too greedy on where I want my entries. Okay. And yeah, we still haven't gone up to the hold level on the daily. SOI, we had our first touch pump off the range trend. We're not shifting the interiors. Nothing. Yeah, it's very similar to SOL really. It's just in a nothing state. I think they're waiting for all these big closes tomorrow. And we haven't come down to the range trend. We bounced off the hold level. If you'd taken that trade off the hold level, you would have been underwater for a little bit, but it's gone back up now. So it's testing the break level. It looks like it might be trying to close over the top of that break level, so that could then give it that next push up to that next level. There's probably a swing trade in this, just basically between this area here and this area here. If you wanted to be laddering into this and TPing up into this, I think that looks like it's going to have a move, you know, between those levels. Not paying too much attention to that though, to be honest. ZEUS, still deciding whether it wants to die. People keep shilling this thing. Looks like it wants to die. So we'll see how that closes tomorrow. Cook looks like it might move the, yeah, so it does look like it might move the weekly trend. So this could be bullish or bearish depending on the wick. So if it has a dip, pulls back up, moves the trend, and then bounces, then that's going to be bullish. If it closes like this, opens on the wrong side of the trend, then it's a bit more bearish. Either way, it's got a range trend down here at about 9 cents, which it could bounce off, and it doesn't have a hold level, so it's if it bounces off that, it would be targeting back up there. So yeah, it's not a bad move really if you want to 100%. Is that 100%? Yeah, might be worth taking that with money you can afford to lose on shitcoins. What else we got going on? Hype. So hype's pulling back. Yeah, so this is why I was not interested in doing anything with this until we see how the weekly closes. You know, you've got that competitor product now, and you know, you're from Binance or whatever, and so this thing's it just looks like it's set up to fail. If you haven't seen the previous videos on this, one thing that's really concerning about just the hype token is when you look at it from a monthly perspective, it's never retested the break, which is all the way down here at 28.45. So now that's kind of okay because breaks don't always get retested, and it is quite a new token, but it's also just asking for trouble. It's got range trends down here around 32 as well, which it's never retested, and it's just not a healthy way for price action to be moving. Normally what happens with these things is there's some announcement, some hack, some attack on the platform, whatever, and then you just see this big wick, and then all of the stuff gets retested, and a whole bunch of people get liquidated. So I'm too suspicious to be longing that thing in its current state, but maybe if it closes positively, moves the trend, retests the lower level, we might long the bounce. Say it's pulling back a bit, but it's still well above its monthly levels, so I think this could be next month's little thing. Yeah, and I think that's us. So yeah, hopefully you get something out of that, but just remember, it's a weekend. They build liquidity, and then normally whatever they do on a weekend, they're building that liquidity to take it through the week. There's a lot of those closes tomorrow can get really sour really quickly and create some big sort of dumps to the downside. And yeah, I'd just be a little bit tread with smaller positions, etc. But if it does dump down, that is probably going to be one of the best entries you'll be able to get for the final leg up. So also don't be scared of it. Just play safe. All right, cheers.